The new Blizzard are about to announce their first game. Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. So imagine if you had a publisher and a game studio in one which was developer led. This is like the holy grail. When we look back at games from Blizzard, because we are going to talk about Blizzard here, because what we're going to outline is Dreamhaven, which is the company that was set up by Mike Morhaime and some external investors. But of course, Mike Morhaime, I'll throw a picture of him up here. He was one of the co-founders of Blizzard and effectively the president of Blizzard through all of their major launches, let's say up until 2016, with Overwatch being, one of their major launches. And when you look at Warcraft, you look at StarCraft, Overwatch, Hearthstone, maybe we can say Heroes of the Storm, but all the other games, they were absolutely dominant in their genres. They were insane. So that's who Mike is. However, he stepped away from Blizzard back in 2020, but then he went and founded a company called Dreamhaven. And when you look back at Blizzard and you look back at the games Blizzard have produced, and I am going to use Overwatch as an example here because Overwatch was designed and built by a team of developers that wanted to build a game. It was not built by a product management team, which it feels like that game is being run by a product management team right now. Look at all the collabs that they do. Look at the direction the game's gone in. It doesn't feel like a game developer-led game. That's the problem Blizzard have got, and maybe this is just an issue when game studios get too big. I don't know. But Mike Morhaime is coming back with Dreamhaven, and he's saying, hey, can we do it a different way? So what I want to do is break this down because they are starting to drop press releases talking about their latest game. And honestly, I am very excited because if they can even scratch just a little bit of that old Blizzard magic onto themselves, is that even the right phrase? I don't know. They can bathe themselves in that Blizzard magic of old, then they might be onto something absolutely killer here. So let's take a look at all of this. So I'd actually like to start with this. It is the announcement of Dreamhaven because it will give us an idea as to what they were trying to do. So Mike Morhaime teams up with industry veterans to launch Dreamhaven trademark. So this is what, obviously there's the Dreamhaven logo, or at least the typeface in the logo. And this is what the press release says. Dreamhaven announces its first two studios, Moonshot Games and Secret Door. Irvine, California, September the 23rd, 2020. It feels insane. This was like 4 years ago, but it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But anyway, Mike Morhaime, former CEO and co-founder of Blizzard Entertainment and a host of industry veterans, today announced Dreamhaven, their new game company based in Irvine, California. Dreamhaven will create and publish original games for players around the world, and it has established its first two studios, Moonshot and Secret Door. I'm excited to team up with such talented people who care deeply about games and their communities, said the Dreamhaven CEO Mike Morhaime. I've always believed in the power of games to bring people together regardless of background or boundaries. With Dreamhaven, we look forward to creating and sharing new experiences with players everywhere. The team at Dreamhaven came together around a common goal to empower creators to help bring their ideas to life and create original gaming experiences that foster meaningful connections between players. So the first studio is Moonshot Games, and Moonshot is led by Jason Shays, Dustin Browder, and Ben Thompson. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of some of those names before. Shays was previously an executive producer at Blizzard Entertainment, where he led the Hearthstone team, a senior director at Electronic Arts, and before that, led art teams for the Walt Disney Company's game division. Browder, I always get his... Dustin, I apologize. Dustin Browder. There we go. Well, you guys most likely know who this is. But anyway, 25-year career includes roles as game director on StarCraft II, Heroes of the Storm, Command and Conquer, and Lord of the Rings. Thompson's credits include creative director on Hearthstone, art director for World of Warcraft trading card game, with additional credits on Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. Moonshot is also home to a team of seasoned developers who've collectively worked on some of gaming's most popular franchises. Dreamhaven has assembled some amazing people, folks who truly share our values, and we're excited to begin this next adventure together, said Moonshot studio head Jason Shays. Though it's very early days, and when we think about Moonshot, we imagine a studio that celebrates curiosity and courage. We aspire to be bold in our approach, and we think the best way to do that is to create a culture centered around trust. That is at the heart of how we'd like to work together, and also how we'd like to connect with players once we're a bit further down the road. So that's Moonshot, and the next studio they've got is Secret Door. Now, these studios are internal to Dreamhaven. They're like Dreamhaven-powered studios. But Dreamhaven is also publishing games as well, and I will show you the first game that they're publishing in a moment. But anyway, Secret Door is led by Chris Sigerty, Alan Dibarai, again, I apologize, I'm so bad with names, and Eric Dodds, who've worked on multiple genre-defining games. Sigetty's roles have included executive producer on Hearthstone, StarCraft 2, and Heroes of the Storm, as well as lead producer on the original Warcraft 3. Dodds was the original game director of Hearthstone and veteran game designer on World of Warcraft and StarCraft. Dibarai has filled both technical director and game director roles and worked on Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2, and Heroes of the Storm. They are joined by a team of highly talented developers with extensive industry experience and are beginning to explore new game experiences together. The amount of game development and publishing experience at Dreamhaven, combined with the camaraderie between our studios, is already providing an unparalleled environment for creative collaboration, said Secret Door studio head Chris Sigetty. At Secret Door, we are passionate about bringing players together in positive ways while building a sustainable home for creators. Dreamhaven is providing everything we need to head into uncharted territory. We cannot wait for others to join us on our journey. So that was a press release, right? This was 4 years ago, remember? And then this is the latest thing we got yesterday. So this is over on IGN. Again, there's a link to all of this stuff in the video description below. But this is, I think, the beginning of Dreamhaven going on a little bit of a PR blast to sort of announce themselves to the world, and yes, they're getting ready to show off their games. So the title reads, "The game industry will continue to grow," former Blizzard president says on the eve of first new game. As Dreamhaven readies its new game, Mike Morhaime shares his thoughts on the state of the industry. So this article is super good, but we're going to go through it. So in 2024 has been a turbulent year for the games industry, to say the least. Between record layoffs, studio closures, and high-profile game cancellations, it's anyone's guess why anyone could enter the industry with optimism. I think in the past few years, a lot of investment capital has discovered games as being a very profitable thing to invest in. And a lot of money went into the games industry, so you had a ton of investment and startup. I think there was probably a bit of overinvestment that is being adjusted now, but I don't think that's an indication that there's anything wrong fundamentally with the business of games. I think it's still continuing to grow, counters Mike Morhaime, the former longtime president of Blizzard Entertainment, who oversaw the release of numerous hit games like World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Overwatch. Maybe not as quickly as people thought with the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a bit of a leap forward, and that didn't get extrapolated forward the way that many people thought it would. It adjusted back the curve to that it was on before, but it's still growing. So yeah, I mean, we had the whole thing with massive investment with COVID, because you've got to remember, COVID was the whole thing of like captive audiences. Everybody is at home. What are they going to do? They're going to play games all the time. So tons of investment came in. Studios got scaled up, and studios got scaled back because some things worked and some things didn't work and all of that stuff. Or if you're Microsoft, you just buy Activision Blizzard and literally fire 2,800 members of staff. So far. Assholes. Anyway, Morhaime is able to speak from a place of almost unparalleled experience. For almost 30 years under Morhaime, Blizzard released a near constant string of hits that include Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo 2, Hearthstone, and Overwatch. It might be a coincidence, but since Morhaime's departure, Blizzard hasn't returned to that summit. And it is absolutely the truth. Now, I said it at the top of this video, it is the truth. Blizzard has not felt like a studio that has been run by game developers for a long, long time. You can see decisions in their games, and you look at them and think, that's just been done to generate revenue in its counter to actually making a fun game, which surely that's what everybody wants to produce who are working on the games. I cannot imagine there are people working at Blizzard thinking, wow, gee whiz, this is great. I get to populate a battle pass with useless cosmetics. There cannot be people there who are enjoying that. They just can't. You know, you want to push the envelope. You want to give gamers a good experience. You want to create art, not shite. So I don't know. But anyway, that's the state of modern games. But let's move on, because we can talk about that forever. It's still a very competitive industry, and so I think that the top games are still responsible for the bulk of the profit, which is true. You know, Call of Duty and whatever. But that's been the case for a really long time, Morhaime adds. So I don't think that's necessarily a new thing. You know that in order to be successful in gaming, your game has to attract an audience, and it really has to rise above the noise in the crowd. Which it does, but also, you know, there is a world. You know, we look at games actually. You look at your Space Marine 2 recently, go a bit further back this year, you look at your Helldivers 2. Now, I know Helldivers 2 was published by Sony, but what I'm saying is it was made by a studio of game developers, not money men. Space Marine 2, it seems to be from the same sort of ilk. I mean, even go back a bit further and look at games like Power World, the same thing. It isn't built by people who are businessmen. It's built by game developers, and that gives the thing the magic secret sauce, which I think a lot of these massive companies just literally don't have. Anyway, I think there was probably a bit of overinvestment. Okay, well, we've been over that. Massive highlighted quote, we love it. But anyway, let's move on. So, although he left the company he co-founded, he left in 2018. I thought he left in 2020. See, what the hell? Time is compressed. Actually, fun fact, if you go into the Blizzard World map on Overwatch 2, you can see in the StarCraft exhibit on the ground floor, there is a whole room dedicated to Mike Morhaime. It's actually quite cool. Go and check it out if you've got the game, or just download the game because it's free to play, whatever. Although he left the company in 2018, Morhaime didn't just ride off into the sunset. Just a year later, he announced Dreamhaven with a new video game company that will serve as both publisher and developer, thanks to 2 internal game studios, Moonshot and Secret Door. Hardly a vacation, but one big difference between Dreamhaven and Blizzard is that Morhaime isn't starting from scratch, because Dreamhaven is no startup. When I started many years ago, Blizzard started as a very small... we started with 3 people and grew from there. I think the biggest difference is the amount of experience that Dreamhaven leadership has, and even all the super talented contributors on these projects. These are really talented, experienced game makers, and our central team also was built with people who have a ton of experience. And so we're able to take all that experience from all of our collective past and apply it to what we're doing here. Whereas in the beginning at Blizzard, we were just figuring it out for the first time. He enlisted the help of industry veterans to fill up the ranks of Dreamhaven. Many of the folks at Dreamhaven and Secret Door come from major studios, including Secret Door game director Erin Marek comes from Riot Games and EA, and Secret Door studio head Chris Sigerty comes from Blizzard, who both sat down with IGN for this interview. But right out of the gate, Dreamhaven launched right into the midst of a global pandemic. We were all high-fiving, like, here we go, we're going to start and we're going to have the studios. We're going to start, and then boom, COVID hits, Sigerty recalls. We announced our company in September 2020, but we had actually formed it right at the end of 2019. Beginning of 2020. Okay, yeah, sorry. I was like, what is this? Yeah, the end of 2019 obviously will be close to the beginning of 2020 or whatever. And then COVID hit, and that changed everything. Like every other game studio at the time, Secret Door transitioned to a remote work model and went heads down on their first game. Having weathered that initial storm, Secret Door is gearing up for the big reveal on a collaborative game inspired by the developers' love of tabletop board games, and they won't be going at it alone thanks to help from Dreamhaven, which owns the studio but acts as a supportive arm. In a way, it sounds like an indie studio, but with the resources of a big company, at least according to the way Secret Door's game director Erin Marek describes it. I love the size of the team. I think it's great. The thing I really appreciate is I love indie and small development because you get to touch so many things you normally wouldn't at a large studio. Usually at a large studio, you're relegated to your title. That's something at Secret Door we've really tried to push and differentiate from. And I'm actually a perfect example. I actually got hired as the lead producer and ended up transitioning over to the game director role. And part of that was because in my lead producer role, I was also helping with design. I was being included, allowed to explore these passions that I was always really excited about, but maybe in previous jobs just didn't have the ability to do so. Ultimately, given the wealth of talent at Dreamhaven, Morhaime and the founding team settled on a structure where internal studios like Secret Door can be in control of their destiny. And I think this is a key thing, right? Control of your destiny, because you have to remember, like, Mike Morhaime has gone through the whole thing with Activision Blizzard. He's seen the way Bobby Kotick kind of took control of the game franchises and the game studios that Blizzard had built. And obviously we go forward to the state of everything is in now. For him saying he wants the devs to be literally in control of their own destiny is probably music to the ears of the devs, because they want this, because these are the guys that will build you a game. You know, you want them to have control. You can't just let them run riot and go, here's an unlimited budget, do whatever you like sort of thing. They do need some sort of control, but also they should be the ones in control, not some suit going. I mean, we've seen this with like a ton of games recently. I don't want to rag on Concord, but look at Concord. You can tell what happened with that was, oh, look, this hero shoot is really popular, and this is like 2016, 2017. We should make one of these. Somebody rings up and goes, right, we need a game. Have you got any game studios going? You got, yeah, we've got this one. We started up. We've got some Destiny devs and bit of this, bit of that. Yeah, well, I want them to make a hero shooter. 6v6, 5v5, whatever it was. Off you go, make the game. Yeah. And then when it launches years later, it's way too late. Doesn't make any sense and fails. Now, obviously, it had other issues as well. But it's just one example, right? That's money men, money people, people in charge of budgets, literally running the show, and they don't know what they're talking about because they just want cash. And it's like a lot of talent gets wasted on these kind of pointless things. So this is like in control of their destiny. It's definitely music. It's music to my ears as well, because I want to see what people can come up with when they're fully supported. While the team at Dreamhaven can offer support wherever else that's needed, whether it's on the development, production, or publishing side. And while launching a new IP seems daunting because of the state of the games industry in 2024, Dreamhaven's decades of experience does seem to offer a sort of buffer. Sigerty, who is executive producer on games like Warcraft 3 and Hearthstone, believes this to be the case. I don't think we've seen this quote, so we'll go over it. I guess we'll get onto this in a minute, but this is what I saw previously in my career, was games that delivered with a high level of quality, that built up strong communities around them, and then the next game comes, and then the next game comes. Okay, interesting. Let's see what context that's in, though. I joined Dreamhaven because of the people involved, and I definitely believe in these people and their values, and who they are and how they tackle challenges. It is challenging. It's a challenging time. We've watched it ebb and flow, as Mike spoke to, from a really insane time where it felt like if you'd even worked at a company on a game, you could get funding to there's not a lot of funding right now, and it's definitely caused some shakeups. While there's no single answer to how a studio can overcome these challenges, Sigerty and Marek share that Secret Door's first game will aim to deliver at the highest level of quality they can, and then go from there. Something Sigerty said he learned from his past experiences in games. This is what I saw previously in my career, was games that delivered with a high level of quality, that built up strong communities around them, and then the next game comes, and then the next game comes. As long as I feel like we pay attention to the level of quality and build the right community around what we're trying to do, I'm confident we can make a dent and be part of this amazing industry that we all enjoy so much. Okay. So given the veteran talent from Blizzard and Riot, I wondered if Secret Door's first game would draw upon the team's experience with competitive multiplayer games, not quite according to the developers. Okay. When we set out at the founding of the studio to talk about what we wanted to build, one of the big things we made was a decision on very early was we didn't want to start by making a competitive game, Sigerty says. We wanted our passions to push forward. Specifically, we wanted to focus on collaborative games. Okay. Sigerty points to the board game table behind him during the interview. Inspirationally, this board game table behind me and tabletop and board games in general was something that we found we were all doing in our free time. While developing video games, certainly playing video games, we were also getting together physically around a board game table. And that was very special to us as we realised and reflected on that. My background has been at Riot, adds Merrick. It's also very competitive, esports focused, etc. Before that, I was at EA on Madden, which is a sports franchise. So I'd say that my experience with games I've worked on isn't particularly similar to what we're making now, but I think that the skill sets that I've learned working on those games has been incredibly valuable in helping develop this, especially even when we look at collaboration. Especially even when we look at collaboration on how you build positivity in games and how you get people. I think that should be a look. Whatever. Let's loot the collaboration. While we wait a bit longer to find out what Secret Door is keeping behind the lock, Dreamhaven is already fulfilling its other duties as publisher, having announced today that it will bring Linked Banner of the Spark to market from outside studio Fuzzy Bot. I think there's probably more gamers playing games and consuming games at this time than there has been at any other point in history, Morheim says, when talking about the games industry as it is now. And I think the future is really bright for games as a popular pastime. I think we've reached a mass market and we've dreamed about it for a really long time. And I think we're there. They used to talk about games being as big as Hollywood, and I think they were fudging the math initially when they said that. But now I think that's actually really true. So this is the game. This is FuzzyBot, which is the studio, and it's Linked Banner of the Spark. And this is just basically the press release saying, hey, we're publishing it. Now, effectively, this is an indie game, which is fine because this is what Dreamhaven is looking to do. It's looking to support studios as well as their 2 internal studios, and maybe they'll add more internal studios in the future. But I thought it'd be interesting to just quickly throw this up there just to show you guys that, yeah, they are a publisher, and this is what they were talking about. And yeah, this is going to be a game that they're going to publish, which is fine. But I think this article over on gamesindustry.biz is actually a bit better than reading off their press release, because this, again, gets you into the sort of mindset of Dreamhaven. So, yeah, this is what, well, we'll just go through it. So, how how Mike Morhaim's Dreamhaven helps indies with the good, the bad, and the ugly of launching games. We speak to Morhaim, Paul Della Bitta, and Fuzzy Bot CEO Tatiana Dashlova about the publisher's first release. And this article is by James Batchelor, the editor-in-chief. So, in 2020, Blizzard co-founder Mike Morhaim created Dreamhaven, a new developer and publisher with 2 internal studios and a partnership program designed to help other indies. A few companies can survive 4 years without announcing or releasing a product, but the funding put forward by Morhaim and his wife, Amy, also a co-founder, as well as external investment partners, has given Dreamhaven the runway to fully staff up its publishing team. It has also been able to recruit for its Moonshot and Secret Door studios, both of which are led by former Blizzard developers. There are now 100 people across all of Dreamhaven, including around 30 at Secret Door and just over 50 at Moonshot. Yesterday, Dreamhaven announced the first title it will be publishing, Linked Banner of the Spark by Fuzzy Bot Games, a studio that's been part of the company's partnership program. The game enters early access on Steam on October the 22nd. Meanwhile, Secret Door is on course to announce its first title next month, with Moonshot not far behind. So remember, the game that we're going to get is from Secret Door, and it looks like it's some sort of board game focused thing. But then there's also Moonshot, whatever they're working on. Apparently that's not that far off from being announced as well. So we could potentially have these 2 sort of old style classic Blizzard games with that Blizzard polish magic being launched, or at least spoken about in the next couple of months, which I think is really interesting. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what goes on. We would have loved to have released our games earlier had they been ready. Morhaim laughs. The course of development is what it is, and this is how long it took, which is fair enough. Nobody had to start Dreamhaven. Everybody chose to do this because it allowed them to focus on the things they were excited to focus on. Again, highlighting the whole issue of you don't want management layers above you telling you what to do. It's like, what do you want to work on? What are you good at? Go and do it. Which just seems like the dream position, which I'm sure, and in fact I know this is how Blizzard used to be. It straight up used to be like that. A Dreamhaven's partnership program involves making small investments in each studio, but also offering the teams considerable experience in an advisory capacity. We have a lot of expertise, not only in our publishing capabilities, but also we have really good designers that could potentially just jam with some of the other developers in our partner studios. Help them think through problems. Della Bitter explains. It's really good to have an independent person in your discipline to talk to. Our engineers are always talking together about challenges that they're facing. And so through our partnerships program, we actually built this really cool community of independent developers that can share knowledge, talk about different things, and help each other, because we're all in various stages of breaking out on our own and doing something new. Dreamhaven's main goal is to create and support a healthy ecosystem of independent developers, whether that's through those partnership investments and publishing deals. Morhaim emphasizes that the studios who sign up to Dreamhaven's partnership program are not then obligated to use its publishing services. In fact, we want to help them find the best possible publishing partner that they could find, he says. It doesn't have to be us. We may not be the right partner in a lot of cases. He continues, we're trying to create win-win relationships with all of our partners. The way the publishing deal is structured, we win together with FuzzyBot. There's not going to be a situation where somehow Dreamhaven wins and FuzzyBot loses, which again might be alluding to things that have happened in the past that maybe he has been privy to. Paul Della Bitta, who leads Dreamhaven's publishing efforts, adds, we just think a lot of the innovation that we see, either new IP or new gameplay or new genres, are being created with independent developers, which is true, right? That is actually true, right? And we think that's really important for our industry and for gamers to just have these new experiences. And this is true, right? Because again, you look at the games that generate all the, massive amounts of money and stuff, your CODs, your FIFA, all the rest of those games. They are like, nothing is new. You know what I mean? It's just like an additional content added to whatever the game is. You're never getting anything which is pushing the envelope forward. It's just more refinements, maybe a slight different deviation. New gaming experiences. And I think, again, like to sort of, ramble about what happened this year when you look at the likes of Helldivers, which was, an evolution of their original format of game, which is a top-down, PvE team-based shooter, horde shooter, to what became a third-person, much larger scale horde shooter, was like, that is evolution, and it's a new experience that we didn't really have before. Space Marine 2, on the other hand, is an interesting one, because it's almost like going back to that golden era of like Gears of War and games like that, back to the Xbox 360 era, where it's just a self-contained game and that's it. It's a game and we've made a really fun game. So in some ways, sometimes going back, taking an old system and sort of jazzing it up can actually, you know, yield good results. But the truth is, a lot of the like most profitable games are generally rehashes of things that have come before. Yeah, and so the article goes on to say, Dreamhaven points towards Link's Banner of the Sparked as a prime example of this. The game focuses on co-op action, but also involves town builder elements between runs, a combination that developer Fuzzybot hopes will help the title stand out. Fuzzybot was first formed during the pandemic by a group of former Electronic Art developers who grew to a team that included former Assassin's Creed and Destiny devs, seeking to build something different from the AAA blockbusters they were used to. The team aimed to make something that filled a gap in the market. So yeah, I mean, that's all fair enough. Anyway, it goes on to say, the whole process gave us confidence that Dreamhaven would be good partners through the good, the bad, and the ugly of launching a game these days. CEO Tatiana Deshlova says the developer noticed that most cooperative games are heavily focused on action, but there are not many titles that appeal to less hardcore players. We didn't have a lot of games that we could play for our friends and family that weren't like very hardcore shooter, or where you needed to have a really high dexterity with a controller, or it was games that were very cozy but not really fun if you liked some action. So we wanted to create a game that is sort of like this. What if Animal Crossing had a lot more action, a positive place to hang out, to have different types of experiences for different players, and that would facilitate all playing together? So I think this is quite interesting then. Obviously, they're looking at different styles of games, maybe games that have not existed before, or mashing different genres together, which could be quite lucrative and quite effective. This doesn't really sound like a game for me, though, I'll be totally honest, but hey, it's something that wouldn't have existed unless Dreamhaven existed. So I guess there are positives to take away from that. And again, more diversity in the game development genres actually will push things forward as well. So I'm all for that. So what about all of these new Dreamhaven games then? Well, if you check this website out, there's a link to this in the video description below. So they need playtesters, and you can sign up to this and they might add you to playtest whatever their new games are. And we know there are 2 games coming. So it just basically says, hello friends, it's been a while, hasn't it? Our in-house studios and partner studios have been hard at work creating experiences and worlds we believe you will love. We're thrilled to share with you what we've been working on, and hearing your feedback will be invaluable to us. It's important to note that this will be the first time our games will be playable by the public. Many of them might still be in earlier phases of development, which means you'll see a lot of work in progress content, from bugs to blips to everything in between. We hope you'll join us in our development journey so we can make great games together. If you want to be considered for playtests, please complete the short survey. So like I said, guys, there's a link in the video description below if you want to go and check this out. Yeah, so this could be the sort of return of old Blizzard. Now, like I said, we've seen all of these games come from Blizzard over all the years Blizzard has been around. I mean, Warcraft recently celebrated its 25th anniversary. You've got all the Warcraft games. You've got World of Warcraft. You've got Hearthstone. You've got Overwatch. These were games that were all driven by developers. Developers wanted to make these games. They made them, and they all absolutely were, you know, world beaters. They were lucky to have the massive, like, sort of juggernaut of Blizzard behind them with that, whether it's all of their systems, their financial support, all of that stuff, and also the Blizzard name, right? Because back in those days, it was seen as like the holy grail. Everybody who was anybody wanted to work at Blizzard. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, but back then it was. And then when we look at 2018 and 2019, when Mike Morhaime steps away from Blizzard, of course, he was a co-founder, and then he goes away and founds Dreamhaven. If we look at the state of Blizzard games we've seen now, obviously, you know, my speciality would be Overwatch and talking about that. But you can see the way that game has changed, right? You can see the way that that game, to me, appears to be very product-driven. It's not game-driven. It isn't delivering new experience to players. It's not, this sounds cheesy, but it's not like delighting players in different ways to make them then spend money. It's just going, do you want a skin? That's 50 quid. It's like, that is just outrageous, and they're doing it a lot. So to me, that stinks of people that are more interested in product development and design rather than actual game designers and people who basically want to build art. Let me know what you think about all of this, guys, in the comments below. This is very interesting times, and this could be, it's almost like the revival of Blizzard, the old Blizzard, but it's a company called Dreamhaven. Right, guys, thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed that, then let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. You can subscribe to the channel as well. That helps a ton, and you can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you soon.